How have you fared over the Christmas break so far? Has it treated you well? I'll put my glasses so I can see what we're doing. Right. God. To the members, what did you think of this yesterday? What a nightmare. What a nightmare. I'm still pondering over it now. Oh, this Swiss lock. That'll give me nightmares for months, that one. Right, what we got today? Well, I had this just before Christmas. I had a look at it. It's still in the old box. Okay, so it's got the usual gump, 10-year warranty and all that lot of stuff. Now, it's a 3-lever sash lock. It looks a bit like a Merchant, but Merchant's 5-lever, and you tend to get more of a flare. You got the flared keyway, but it's sort of like an oval shape around there. So it's a curtained 3-lever lock. So that would confuse the life out of you, wouldn't you? What sort of application would you put this into, I suppose? And look at the bitting on it. Always a point to remember. If you're ever going to buy yourself or any of your friends and family any locks, and you can get to see what the bitting is look like, don't buy anything that looks like that. Okay, because there ain't a great deal going on there, is there really? I could just about make it out for the packaging. It's not enough flat. So I didn't know it was going to come like that, and I just saw it and my heart sank. I thought, what the? I don't think I've ever seen one that flat. But we'll have a look at it and we'll open it up. But before we get to do that, let's talk about the supporters. Supporters, thank you so much. I keep saying it every time. I can't thank you enough. I know 2020's it's been a killer year for everybody. So what we got then? Well, I'm going to put in this week. I have got a selection of these on the old website. You'll know what they are. Most of you have already got them. Jiggler, Wiggler, tryout keys. These mainly for 2 and 3 levers, but you can use them for loads of stuff as well. So that's part of the prize for my supporters. Again, thank you so much for support. I still got a few of these. I was knocking around the drawer. This multi-tool key ring. I tell you, it is so dead handy. I've got one of my keys, and it's a screwdriver, a little knife, bottle opener, all sorts of bits and pieces. I've got one of them, so we're going to put that in as well. And I didn't realise I had any of these left. It was at the bottom of a drawer. And I don't think I've used it. I don't know why it was in the bottom of the drawer. But these are such a handy little sort of Euro pick sets. You can adjust all those tips slightly. You can only use it straight out of the packaging, really. But it gives you a lot of choice if you're really into single pin picking Euros and such like. And you can have a little chalk around with it because it's not going to cost you anything. It's free, and it comes with the old doodah handles as well. So this is this week's surprise draw. My plans for January is try and give a few more locks. So I've got quite a few padlocks. So it's going to be a lot of padlocks on the giveaways in January for the supporters. So just to let you know. Right then, let's look at it. It's not going to be very challenging, is it? 3 levers. But it looks the business, doesn't it? It does. It does look the business. Let's whip him out. What have we got on the plate? Does it say anything interesting on there? That's the name of the brand. So it's not Merchant. It looks a bit like Merchant. 3 levers. It's such a great big lock for all that effort, really, isn't it? You know what I mean? But I suppose an internal door somewhere, maybe. But this is the thing that intrigued me the most. Let's put that over there. Now, that's probably got to be the worst bitting I think I've ever seen in my life. Look at that. Oh, there you go. It's like that wink hants or something in it. I can't really make it out what that's supposed to say. Let me know. You know what it is. But it's flared a bit like a Merchant, but it's not. But that is like awful. So a point to remember, if you do ever buy any mortise locks and you want to fit them to your friends or your own property, make sure you get something with an extreme bitting, something absolutely awful. Something, even in this other 3 lever lock, what we've got down here, it's a Union. At least it's got a bit of fight on it, innit? But there ain't no fight at all with that one, not really. But we'll put it in there and we'll take it apart, and it's all apart. For me, it's all about a learning curve, innit? However good or bad the locks are, you know what I mean? From 9 levers like that Swiss lock down to a 3 lever like this. But another bit in the key. But it's all about learning. You learn something every time you take one of these apart. You have a look at the levers and the way it all works and how it interacts with each other. So it is all a learning experience. What we'll do is we'll go and we'll shove it in the vice and we'll give it a pick, and then we'll strip it and we'll have a look what's inside. So I'll see you over there in a mo. Okay, then let's have a look at this. Oh, that bit in. I was looking at that and I thought it was like Wincanton or something. I gotta get my glasses sorted. It's a WMS. It is definitely a merchant. I think, what does that say? Yeah, it's definitely WMS. It threw me because sometimes they've like an oval shape. I've never seen one without this, but I suppose it's because it's not British standard. So, WMS merchant. New glasses are required, I think. Right, 3 levers. There is something a bit unusual about this lock, and I've talked about it when we get to take it apart. So, right, I just use a basic tinch tool. It's just, I can get this 5 gauge in here. We know we've got enough curtain. It's a 3 lever curtain lock, very unusual. I don't know why they've gone to the trouble of just putting 3 in it. Maybe it's a cost thing, I don't know. Anybody knows out there, let me know. We're only going to do for it's a I suppose it's the highest bend I'm normally going to get. I normally go shallower than that, but it's got a bit more of a bend on it. Don't really make a difference. It's more of a medium, okay? So it's not quite small. It's more of a medium. By medium, we talk about, normally I cut them just the bottom of the curtain, just there. A little bit close up so you can see a little bit more. So when I talk about wires, people ask me this question quite often. What's a small? Well, a small, it's just sitting on the bottom. It's the lip of that curtain there. That's what I mean. The very, very bottom, that bit there at the end of the curtain. The wire will be just touching that. That's a medium. A small, sorry. Now, a medium sort of sits in the middle. So you can imagine that being a hole. If you go right in the middle of that, it's more or less round the middle or just low. It depends on what lock you've got. So that's a medium. And a high is probably just another mil or so more. It never should be all the way up to the top of the actual curtain, because you're not going to, unless it depends on what lock you're using for reference, of course. I tend to use Fortress because they're quite standard. But so small's at the bottom, medium sort of sits in the middle, and a large is about a mil more, about a mil or so more, not much more. Because otherwise, the longer it is, you've got to imagine, sometimes you can overlift. It all depends on the shape of the levers. Anyway, we're all locked up. I try and teach you something every time we do this. So it's not just about picking locks. Okay, I can sit here all day and pick locks. That's what I do. But as long as you learn something along the way. Right, merchant. Here we go. So we're going to go really light tension. And we're going to go tiny. Just make sure you can see my hand there. Let's move that around a bit. I'm a bugger for not getting the camera angles in right these days. Is that any better? So there's me picking hand here. So I'm going to put tiny little lifts. There's only 3, and at the front. So 1, 2. Little nudges. And there she is. It was just tiny little nudges. Take me wire out. I don't want to swing it all the way around if I can help it. Take me wire out. So that's fully open, yeah? You couldn't feel a lot in it. Okay? The curtain's quite stiff in this. I couldn't really feel where the false notches was. It was quite I don't know, quite dull really. So we'll go for it again. So I'll just imagine tiny. It's little taps, like a bird tapping a piece of bread. You get in a terrible habit of lifting too high too quickly, and you get stuck. in a notch, and you don't want to. And some people rush as well. Just pulsing almost. It's very gritty, this lot. We'll have a look why. There she goes. It was the middle that time. And I say to people, try not to, if you can help it, throw you all the way around the wire, because there's a good chance you get stuck. If you're going to open this in the door, you'd open it this far. That'd be enough to open the door, and then you drop your tool back out. Try not to go all the way around. It is deadly. They do get stuck, and it's a pig if it's stuck in the door. So try and avoid that, because you need the height sometimes for the levers. Right, right. Let's have a look inside it now. Brace yourself. If I remember rightly, now this is going to be like a jack in a box. Okay, jack in a box, and we'll strip it out and we'll have a look so you can see what I'm doing. It's probably one of the, I would say one of the top three locks that you think, why did I take that apart? Then Wellington are bad, but this is pretty nasty, and I'll tell you why before we even get to the bit where it's going to be nasty. Now, we've got that open. You see that part there? Oh, you can see that. Let's focus and let's lift up a little bit. Now, there's a little. This is spring loaded. It's part of your. It's part of your what's it. Oh, there you go. Part of your what's it, and everything just falling out like that. But we're quite lucky. We've lost the spring and we've lost that part there. But what normally happens is, see this part here, and I'll take it out. It's a pain in the arse. Okay. So that normally shoots out like that. That normally flies across the robe. We'll find the spring and the other bit in a minute. It's just that normally shoots out like it does. That piece there is a pig because it fits in there on the back of there, and you've got to try and line it up, and it's not flush, and line it up with a case. Okay, and then my spring was gone all the way down here. Oh, I told you I tapped it and it shot open, and then there's a spring. But we'll put it all back together again, so I'll show you what it's all about. Okay, so let's strip it right out. We don't need that part. You can turn these around, they're reversible. Okay, so we're down to the bones so far. Let's have a look what we've got in here then. As I said, 3 levers. You've got a curtain. Let's drop this down a little bit. It's all live. I don't pre-record these things. Sometimes stuff happens like that. Curtain. It's weird that you've got like sort of half cut out of it. Very unusual. Here's your curtain. Okay, we've got 3 levers at the front. Let's have a look. So what's on the first one? There we go. I'm going to start dropping stuff. So the first one, it's a bit unusual. You've got a false notch sitting right there, and even underneath there, if you went right up, there's a good chance you could get stuck in that as well. And the first one's a number 4, so we've got number 4. Let's remember that. And then the old classic brass spacers. So spent the money on those. You could have put another lever in, I suppose, for that. Second one is a number 5, and again, look, not of a double notch on the bottom. So one real lot. If you've done it that one, you're going to hit that one, and you're never going to come back down. So very, very ingenious, for such a 3 lever lock. So the number 2 is a number 5. Okay. Spacer again. So well, you could have put 5 levers in here. I don't know why they didn't, but maybe they've gone for this option, thinking let's make the 3 levers such a pig that we don't need 5. Possible. Let's try and wiggle this out without breaking those springs. And then back onto a number 4. Again, a sort of deepish false notch there. And then at the back, we've just all we've got. I'll wiggle them out, and they're just 2 blanks. Just 2 blank levers, nothing else. Quite chunky blank levers. We'll put them down there. Obviously, we'll get the curtain out. There's your curtain. Actuate at the back there. That will go into that part there. into your bolt. We'll get him out. We can get the bolt out. Bolt out, nothing special. Now this is what you need to do quite often, guys. You spend the time, just strip them right out. I think you've got some anti-saw pins or roller ball pins in there, which can help. It's difficult to cut into that. Not a lot going on there, but that's going to be right in the body of the lock. And then this is always like to look at these either, where your actual lever is going to sit. Is it sometimes they're beveled slightly, sometimes they're quite rough. So sometimes you can't get a real good feeling for where those levers are trying to bind. And maybe because it was slightly, it's quite rough and quite uneven. Maybe that's what sort of took some of the feedback off me. And I took it very careful on only picking those 3 levers. So, and then you got the spring here for your curtain. So ideally you want to spend time doing this to a lock before you get too much into picking. And then you want to put it all back together again. So you've got to try and remember where everything goes. Possibly always best to take a photograph before you do this, okay? So you know. And if you had a disaster like I do when everything goes everywhere, then you're going to be a bit more of a problem. So I'm going to put the bolt back in. It just slides back in there. You've got to make sure when your bolt goes back in, sometimes there's a little slot there. There was not on this one though. And it won't fit flush. So I'm going to drop the bolt back in. So your bolt's back in. Okay, it's back to sort of where it needs to be. Next, my curtain. I'm going to drop my curtain back. I need to drop it in that sort of section. Okay, there's a spring here. We've got to sort of use that spring, pushes that force. Now, sometimes this can be a bit of a disaster, but we're all right so far. And we'll try and turn him right. Oh, and that could do that. There's a lot of spring force, a lot of grease now all over everything, over your fingers, over everything else. And I want to turn that round a little bit. It just makes it easier for me when I'm putting everything back together again. So we're going to make sure I get into the right position. Now, the bolt's not quite right, so we need to get him in that position there. Okay, so the bolt, the curtain is grabbing hold of that bolt, so you know you're in the right position at that point there. Yeah, so you're going, and this is where you'll be picking along this point here underneath your curtain. That's why it's upside down and all your levers are going to be there. So that probably explains a bit more to you. So we'll drop him in there. Now he's about where he needs to be. Now we've got to be careful now. Okay, what's next? We start putting the levers back in. You can put this back in first. Don't really matter really. I mean, that can go back in. We can sort that out towards the end. So we had the spacers first, and we're going to drop them back in. Okay, the spacers, you can see, sit straight on your bolt there. So we know we're in the right position. Then we get those brass spacers, if I remember rightly. And then we got a number 4. And then we're going to have a spacer. And then we're going to have a number 5. If I've got it remembered rightly. You'll know when you got it wrong because the key won't work. And you'll think, crap, I've got to do it all over again. And then, well, the last one, number 4. Okay, so he's in where he needs to be. We're so far, okay? So far, so good, we say. So everything's a bit temperamental at this point. Little knock here that could fly off, not a lot there that'll fly off. So you've got to be starting to be careful. It's a bit like playing Operation. Is the only way I can explain what this feels like when you're trying to do this. So your next part, you want to put this in here. Okay, this is where your door handle goes. That will sit in there, that hole there. Now what goes onto there was that spring. And we need to get that spring hooked up around there. If we can, yeah. So we need to get him hooked up around here. It's on the way around, sorry. Back to front. So we need to get hooked up around there. You've got to use the spring. It's got to be spring loaded to try and get it to sit in properly. Else it won't work. It won't work at all. Now that part there, where it's gone all the way around there, needs to be here, back into that bolt. Yeah, so you've got to have spring on that spring. It doesn't just sit there, it's actually spring loaded. And it's got to be there. Okay, so he's like that. Now that was that pane. Now, right then, where's the bits? Wherever I've chucked them down on here somewhere. Okay, right. Now we've got that horrible bit now. Well, we've got at the top part here. So you can have a little bit of look. Now that part's got to go in there. There's a little gap for that. Oh. That's spring loaded. Okay, now this is where you got all grease on your hands and you get a spring in your eye and all sorts of stuff. Then you get that horrible bloody bit there. Now it's the sort of the cut up two bits you want. That's going to be sticking out the front, and that big tail piece is going to go through the back into the gap in the lock at the back. And now this is where you don't want to touch anything. You don't want to knock the lock too much. You'll be fighting with it for a little bit. I tell you, it is. Oh, there you go. Stuff start to move. Stuff's starting to move. It's easy to do it when it's flat, but have a go. It'd be interesting. Come on, you little. See, look, the sprig. Don't want to go in there. I've got grease all over my hands. That's not helping. Oh, there you go. Stuff starts to shift already. We don't want to lose that. We don't want to lose that. We don't want to lose that. Okay, let's take him off for a little bit. As you can see, stuff happens there. Yeah, we're gonna get him in. I'm determined. Right, there we go. We're gonna get him in. We're gonna do it. You're gonna go in there and you're gonna behave. You're gonna go behind there, and then we're not going to touch any of those levers, and then you're going to go on there. You're going to behave. Right. Make sure that's there. It's a jack in a box. Now the tricky part is this part here. That's got to go in that hole in that case. And I know it's a bit of a long old video, but this is the fun part, I think. The fun part. Hammer in. I know sometimes I turn the camera off at this bit and you go, oh, how did you put it all back together again? And it doesn't always go this well. I could be doing that 3 or 4 times, and that bit will shoot off there, and another bit will be shoot across the lab, and I'll lose a bit under the bench. But I'm doing it as live as it is. No retakes, no second goes. It is tricky. It is a tricky bugger. Now, proof in the pudding. Let's just back off a little bit. Did we get? We got the levers right. We're back together again. Right. I know it was a long video, guys, but I thought something you'd enjoy, something a bit different. You can only watch so much of Netflix and Amazon Prime, and watch Andy Mac fiddle about with a merchant, a WMS. Only 3 levers, but there's more fun in taking it apart than there was to pick it, don't you think? Right, guys, stay safe, stay well. And remember, if you want to buy anything from the shop, just email me. You don't need to be a member. And support us. Let's go through the bits and pieces for this week. Yes, that's sort of a little keychain multi-tool. The jiggler, wiggler, tryout keys, and this Honest. It's mostly designed to be single pin picking euros set. Not a bad little prize, I don't think, you know, for what costs you per month with all the videos you get, the updates and the blogs. I know you don't pay for the prizes, I do that on my own bat, but it all helps me buy these sort of locks and spend a little bit of time with you guys talking about the insides and how they all work and how to pick them and how to feel for them. Sometimes you can pick them up straight away, sometimes you can't. It just all depends on all those different factors. So everybody, stay safe, stay well, and I'll see you all to the end of the week. Remember, if you like this video, use the old thumbs up button. Leave a nice comment. The community do love chatting about all this sort of stuff. People into lock sport, definitely, and locksmiths come across these crazy locks as well. And I shall see you all very, very soon. Right, back again. If they get rid of me. Right, I was just about to put this on the shelf. Remember that bitting there? I found another one. I didn't realise I had one up there. I've had it for ages. Got a slightly different bit in this one as compared to that. I wanted to see if they pick the same. Okay, so instead of doing another video, I thought, well, it's long enough anyway. If you want to watch, you'll watch. If you don't, you'll go. So exactly the same merchant. Slightly different bitting. Okay, it's a bit steeper, this one, isn't it? A bit more cuts. A little bit better. There's me chucking the keys. Right. Will it pick the same? Okay, we've still got the same sort of roux. You can see, yeah. So I'm going to bounce it. I'm trying to feel. That's 1, 2, 3's always a bit tricky to get on. 1, 2, 3. And there you go. Yeah, it picks very similar. So just a bit more higher lifts. I can feel a little bit more in this one. So there you go. So I'm doing another video. Is there a difference? Slightly, yes, but not much. Anyway, guys, again, stay safe, stay well, and I'll see you soon. Ta-da!